They found her in the sewers. That's how the story begins. Some women fade quietly. Sarah Kim wasn't one of them. Face unrecognizable, lifeless in the cold, dressed in a runway outfit worth more than most people earn in a year. She was surrounded by filth, and she was still wearing her luxury bag. Because nothing about Sarah Kim was ever what it looked like. Not her name, not her wealth, not her friends, and definitely not her ending. And by the time you understand what really happened, you'll wonder if you'd ever seen through her either. It starts with a victim. A boudoir customer stumbles across a lifeless woman in the sewers beneath Seoul. She's wearing the exact outfit Sarah Kim wore at Boudoir's 2024 spring-summer launch party just days earlier. Her face has been damaged beyond recognition, crushed on purpose, like someone needed her to be unidentifiable. She didn't survive the cold down there, alone, in the dark. All she has is a luxurious purple bag and a tattoo on her foot. Mélancolie splendide. French for splendid melancholy. Detective Park Moo-kyung gets the case. He's experienced and deeply skeptical, the kind of man who's spent enough years in this job to stop being surprised by people. His rookie partner Jae-hyun is the opposite. Young, eager, still under the impression that being a detective is exciting. They trace the purple bag quickly. It was a gift, given by Yo-jin, CEO of the cosmetics brand Nox, to her close friend. Her close friend named Sarah Kim. Yo-jin arrives at the morgue composed. Tailored coat, steady hands. She identifies the victim from the tattoo and says she's devastated. She says Sarah was one of a kind. She says she didn't report her missing because it wouldn't have made a difference. She also says she doesn't have a single photo of her. 5 years of friendship. Not one photo. Because Sarah didn't like taking photos. Moo-kyung writes that down and says nothing. And then Yo-jin drops the purple bag on the interrogation room floor on her way out. Like it's nothing. Like it's just a bag. You don't do that with a gift from someone you loved. The morgue cameras catches what happens next. Yo-jin, alone with Sarah's figure, leans forward and spits on her. Moo-kyung pulls Yo-jin's financial records before she's even out of the building. There's an ongoing investigation attached to her name. Her personal assistant had been arrested for kidnapping, assault, and extortion. He'd already confessed. Yo-jin sent him after Sarah to recover 15 billion won she'd invested in Boudoir. Sarah had taken the money and gone completely quiet. No returns, no explanations. So Yo-jin sent someone to make her talk. Yo-jin tells the story of how they met. And even knowing how it ends, it's hard not to get pulled in. 5 years ago, Yo-jin spots this woman at a luxury department store, Korean American, Oxford educated. She walks in carrying a suitcase full of cash and starts buying everything she's touched. Not greedily, not excitedly, casually. The way you pick up something off a shelf without checking the price because the price genuinely doesn't register. That's what hooks people, not the money, the attitude. At a gala that same week, Yo-jin gets publicly snubbed by Chairman Choi Cha-yu, one of the most powerful figures in Seoul's business world. Too new money, not the right kind of rich. She's storming off when Sarah accidentally spills wine on her bag. Yo-jin slaps her across the face. Sarah doesn't flinch. She doesn't cry or make a scene. She simply apologizes and then takes the red Birkin off her arm and hands it over as compensation. A Birkin bag, as an apology. Yo-jin is speechless. And just like that, she's completely, utterly hooked. They become roommates, best friends. And Sarah becomes Yo-jin's education in how the truly wealthy operate. Buy the copyright, not the painting. Exploit weaknesses before they become yours. Make people wait until they're begging. Never seem like you need anything from anyone. Yo-jin soaks all of it up. When Sarah mentions Boudoir is expanding into hotels, Yo-jin wants in immediately. Sarah keeps her waiting, turns her down at first, says Nox isn't the right fit. And that rejection makes Yo-jin want it more than anything. She pushes her board. She changes her entire aesthetic. She puts her foot down and eventually Sarah agrees to a partnership. But the price is 15 billion won. Yo-jin's advisors are nervous. She overrules them. Because the dividends come back at 1.5 billion in the very first month, and every doubt she'd ever had dissolves instantly. She believed because she wanted to, because believing felt like finally arriving somewhere she'd spent her whole career trying to reach. That's the thing about a good con. It doesn't just trick you, it makes you feel like the clever one. But Moo-kyung isn't buying any of it. Not the friendship, not the grief, and definitely not the innocent investor routine. He runs the bags Yo-jin's assistant stole from boudoir as collateral. Every single one of them is fake, and there's no record anywhere of a Sarah Kim from the United States. Not one. The investigation fans out, and what Moo-kyung and Ja-hyun find is a trail of people Sarah used, discarded, and moved on from without looking back. The first is Woo Hyo-eun. Jae-hyun finds her running a department store lining system, helping people queue for exclusive items. She's sharp and she's bitter. He gets her talking by pretending to be a boudoir fan, and she tightens up immediately at the name. Her story starts at the store where Sarah used to buy her Birkin bags. Over time, Sarah won her over completely. The attention, the kindness, the sense that Sarah saw something in her that no one else had noticed. She poached Hyo-eun to work for boudoir, and Hyo-eun brought everything she had. Her entire contact book of VIP clients, her expertise, her loyalty. She worked without commission because she believed in the brand, because she believed in Sarah. She's also the one who maintained boudoir's exclusivity. She quietly turning away clients who didn't meet the standard, building the kind of reputation that money alone can't manufacture. She was essential, and Sarah knew it. Then one night, Hyo-eun is out buying a fake bag for herself when she spots unreleased boudoir designs on a street market. She reports it to Sarah. Sarah doesn't react, doesn't investigate, doesn't even seem surprised. That's the moment Hyo-eun starts paying closer attention, and Sarah notices that she's paying closer attention. Before Hyo-eun can do anything with what she suspects, Sarah fires her. She blacklists her across the industry with a fabricated story about client data theft. She frames it as protection, tells people she's keeping Hyo-eun from being sued, but what she's really doing is making sure Hyo-eun can't talk to anyone who will listen. Hyo-eun crashes the launch party with a woman named Yang Da-hye, who'd also been pushed out after Sarah flagged her face as too familiar. The two of them spray paint insults across the venue wall that night. Da-hye is the one who eventually finds the victim in the sewer. And when she sees the face, even destroyed as it is, something nags at her. She's seen this woman before, not as Sarah Kim, as someone else entirely. That thread is what starts to unravel everything. Then there's Ji-won. The cops find his place in chaos, and Ji-won himself in the middle of a panic attack with fresh scratches on his hands. He tells them he took out Sarah. His story is the story of a man who thought he was the one doing the manipulating and was wrong from the very first moment she looked at him. She made him feel chosen, special, like he was the exception to every rule she had. She got him to seduce Chairman Choi by promising him an apartment, a management position at boudoir, and eventually marriage. He hated the arrangement. He tried to stop it. But by then she'd already shown him the workshop, the fake bags being made by hand in a cramped room, and she made it clear that if he tried to take her down, he'd go down with her as an accomplice. So instead he contacted Hong Seong-sin, Sarah's former fake husband, and told him everything. He believed Seong-sin would handle her. In the interrogation room, he breaks down. He's convinced he pushed Seong-sin into having her eliminated. Moo-kyung watches him perform his grief and says nothing. Because Ji-hwan's story was very carefully told, he came out of it looking lovesick and foolish rather than criminal. Every detail placed just right. Then there's Chairman Choi. She owns Samwol department store, the very building whose sewer the victim was found in. She'd had a contract to bring boudoir into her store and claims she canceled it long ago when she got suspicious. She says she fired the employee who advocated for the deal. What she doesn't say is that the boudoir store was still being built inside Samwol until just days ago, and all the CCTV footage from that period has been deleted. She knew. She'd been protecting herself this whole time. Her real name is Mak Ga-hui, and before she was a luxury brand CEO with an Oxford thesis and a wardrobe full of Birkins, she was a salesgirl at Samwol department store, the same building. She worked long shifts for small pay and got treated like she was part of the furniture. Customers spoke over her. Management expected her to absorb everything without complaint. She got a scar from an unruly client and tattooed over it rather than hide it. She'd take cigarette breaks just to step outside and breathe for 2 minutes, the only minutes of the day that belonged to her. When a robbery happened on her shift, the store handed her a 50 million won bill she'd never earned. The system didn't ask whether it was fair. It just handed her the debt and walked away. Imagine working a job where the people you serve will never remember your face, where you owe a debt for a robbery you didn't commit, where stepping outside to breathe is the only minute of the day that belonged to you. How long can a person carry that before they break, or before they decide to break the system back? Then a small door opens. A senior pays her to stand in line at a staff family sale. She sees the discounts. She sees what these items sell for at market price, and something wakes up in her that was never going to go back to sleep. She buys everything she can carry, posts it online as a fictional rich influencer called Cheongdam Goddess. People buy it instantly. She does it again, then starts borrowing employee IDs to access more family sales, takes out loans, buys in bulk, sells at market price, pays off her debt, and keeps going because stopping feels unthinkable now. Until Samwell caps the purchase limit and the loan sharks close in. She ends up falling into the building's own trash chute while hiding from them. She's demoted to stock duty. One night, drunk and furious at everything, she smokes inside the stockroom. The sprinklers ruin half the inventory. On her way out, she steals one last thing: a luxurious silver purse. She goes home and writes a final letter. She withdraws the 500 million won she'd taken from her Cheongdam Goddess buyers, and she walks toward the water. She lets go, and now she's sinking. The cold is pressing in from every direction, and then she sees the bag, glittering at the bottom of the water in the dark. She swims back up. She drags herself out alone and shaking. Stop and picture this for a second. A woman who walked toward that water with nothing left. No money, no name people remembered, no future she could imagine. And what brings her back isn't love, isn't faith, isn't hope. It's a stolen handbag catching the moonlight at the bottom of cold water. What does that say about her? Maybe nothing, maybe everything. Not because someone saved her, not because she found something to live for, because a stolen bag in a freezing water caught the light at exactly the right moment and she couldn't look away from it. If you were her, standing at that water's edge with nothing left and nowhere to go, would you have gone back up? She edits the final letter into a boudoir review, fabricates a century-old brand history. She rents a Rolls-Royce, books the most expensive hotel room she can find, spends every last coin tipping the bellboys on her way out, and sitting in a cafe, she sees Yojin across the room reading a magazine. She sees a name on the cover: Sarah Kim. That's who she decides to become. But a name alone doesn't build an empire. She needs money, credibility, and someone who can teach her how to move through a world she was never supposed to enter. She finds all three in one man. Hong Shong-sin is a powerful loan shark with a failing kidney and no willing donor. He's feared and completely alone in the way that only ruthless men eventually become. She approaches him as Dua, another identity, another mask. She sits with him while everyone else scatters, listens to his rants without flinching, and then she offers him her kidney in exchange for 500 million won. They enter a fake marriage. It has to last at least a year to qualify for a spousal transplant. And over that year, something neither of them expected happens. They actually learn from each other. He's softer than his reputation. He sometimes quietly forgives debts when a debtor moves him. She's more ruthless than she looks. He teaches her the Oxford backstory, the classy aura, how to carry a lie so naturally it stops feeling like one. He tells her that some of the most successful businessmen in history started as con artists who eventually built something real. She teaches him that kindness, used at exactly the right moment, cuts deeper than anything else. He starts to care about her, not despite knowing who she is, somehow because of it. When someone goes after him, she steps in front of it, takes the hit herself. Think about that for a moment. A man feared by an entire city, a woman who'd lied her way into his life for a piece of his body. And somewhere between the contract and the kitchen and the quiet evenings, something neither of them planned for happened. He stopped seeing the lie. She stopped performing it. For the first time in years, two people who'd survived by being the most ruthless person in the room let their guard down with each other. It wouldn't last, but for a while, it was real. When she wakes up, her first question is about his kidneys. He wills everything to her. On the day of the transplant, she disappears with his 500 million won. His men catch her. They're about to make it permanent when Seong-sin calls them off. He says he was never under any illusions about who she was. She goes back. She gives him the kidney. Then she leaves with the money. He watches her go and smiles. She now has the money, the backstory, the aura, and a hunger that years of humiliation made impossible to satisfy. At what point does survival become something else entirely? She finds the workshop by accident. It makes knockoffs, decent ones. She walks in and meets Kim Mi-jong, a young woman who's been running from something her whole life and found her purpose in the craft of making fake luxury bags. Mi-jong looks at Sarah and immediately knows everything she's wearing is real. There's a recognition between them that neither of them needs to name. Together they build boudoir from the ground up. They source materials as close to the real thing as their budget allows. English-made handles so the bags can legally carry a Made in England tag. Sarah designs, Mi-jong crafts. The quality isn't luxury, but what Sarah's actually selling has nothing to do with quality. She wasn't selling bags, she was selling the feeling of being chosen. She doesn't advertise. She makes people request meetings and then keeps them waiting. She turns down VIP clients just to make them want in more. She engineers situations where powerful people convince themselves they need boudoir without her ever asking directly. She ropes Ji-hwan into seducing Chairman Choi. She has his escort colleagues spread rumors about boudoir being worn by European royalty. She engineers a moment where Choi overhears the right conversation at the right time. She gets Hyo-eun's full client list and her expertise without paying her a single commission. And when Chief Director Hong-mi at Samwol suspects something and demands paperwork for a routine evaluation, Sarah refuses to provide it. She leaks that she's got better offers from Samwol's rivals. She creates a casual encounter with Chairman Choi and says just enough about boudoir being her life's work. Choi relates to her immediately. Hong-mi gets fired for supposedly leaking to competitors. And Choi becomes so obsessed with securing boudoir that she throws out the evaluation entirely. The extravagant launch party seals it, the bags sell. The investment pays out. Everyone in that room believes they've discovered something rare and European and real. They believe it because she built the belief long before she built the bags. While Sarah is running the empire, Mi-jong is quietly trying it on for size. It starts with small things. Sarah buys Mi-jong a phone under her own name, lends her a card for emergencies. Mi-jong starts using it for herself. Shopping sprees, restaurants, parties. 6 months of living as Sarah Kim without Sarah knowing. Then she gets the same tattoo. She even starts practicing Sarah's voice, her posture, the exact way she pauses before speaking. When she sees her craftsmanship behind glass with a price tag that'd take her years to earn, something breaks open in her. She made these with her hands, in a cramped workshop under fluorescent light, and they're worth a fortune to everyone in this world except her. When Sarah finally confronts her, Mi-jong doesn't apologize. She says Sarah owes her everything. Boudoir wouldn't exist without her hands. She's right about that, but she's also already past the point of negotiating. Sarah fires her, and Mi-jong burns it all down on her way out. She contacts Ji-hwan and confirms boudoir is fraudulent. She has the workshop workers reported in an immigration raid. She strips the workshop of materials and wipes every surface of her fingerprints. She gets a second copy of the launch dress from Morphe, the designer who'd fawned over her at the fitting and dressed her up like she was the one who mattered. She shows up at the launch party looking exactly like Sarah Kim. Same dress, same build, same tattoo, and same height. Her plan is to take Sarah and step into her life completely. Sarah spots her the moment she walks in. She drags her into the back office. Mi-jong lunges first and she means it, but Sarah gets the upper hand. She overpowers Mi-jong completely, loads her into a suitcase with the rest of boudoir's inventory being transferred that night to Samwol department store. She rolls her through the building, down to the trash chute, the same trash chute where Ma Ka-hui once fell while hiding from loan sharks years ago. She drops Mi-jong inside. The purple bag she'd gifted her goes in with her. Mi-jong is still breathing when it happens. She tries to crawl out. The cold gets to her before she makes it. Sarah knew she was alive when she threw her in. She built everything from nothing. She survived everything they threw at her, and she still threw Mi-jong in alive. At what point did you stop feeling sorry for her? Or did you? Is Mi-jong still the victim here, or did she just become the very monster she was trying to replace? The interrogation is its own kind of battle. Sarah walks in voluntarily. She's cocky. There's no proof she's Mok Ga-hui. She dismantles the fraud charges one by one. The Made in England tag is legal. The exclusivity she sold is legal. The fake century-old history was never stated by her directly, but by clients and associates in private conversations she can't be held responsible for. None of her wealthy clients have filed a complaint because doing so would expose that they paid billions for something they'd never verified. She's loopholed her way out of everything, and the other cops in the room are almost impressed. Mugyong corners Chairman Choi separately about the deleted cameras and the boudoir store that was still being built days ago. Choi admits the footage showed Sarah dragging a suitcase to the trash chute on the night of the launch. She deleted it to protect her store, not Sarah. They agree to an uneasy alliance. The dress designer confirms Sarah ordered 2 identical copies of her launch outfit. Forensics finds DNA on the sewing pins from Sarah's fitting. It matches the victim, but it doesn't match the traces or the partial print at the crime scenes. Mugyong lays his theory out, that the woman across from him isn't Sarah at all, that she's the imposter who found out Sarah's identity was fake and started using it herself, knowing Sarah couldn't report her, that she'd planned to take Sarah out and take her place permanently, and that Sarah found out first and eliminated her instead. Sarah's composure cracks for just a moment. Then she makes her final play. She recants everything she's said as Sarah Kim and confesses to the incident as Mi-jong. She says she's the workshop girl, that she took Sarah Kim, that the victim in the sewer was the real Sarah all along. It's the perfect move. If Sarah Kim is the victim, the fraud case falls apart without a defendant. No prosecutorial authority. Boudoir survives. And the woman in that room is either a nobody who walks free or someone who takes 10 years as Mi-jong with no empire left to lose. She wasn't performing confidence. She just never stopped believing in herself. Not once. Not even at the bottom of freezing water in the dark. And that, more than the bags, more than the 1,000,000,001 dividends, more than any alias she ever wore, that's the art of Sarah. She told us at the very beginning. The truth blinds us like the sun. Lies are like a sunset. They make everything beautiful. Till you're caught. The question she never answered, even sitting across from the one man who came closest to seeing her clearly, is whether any of it was ever really a lie. The workers were real. The craft was real. The hunger that started all of this was real. Maybe that's the part that stays with you. Not that she fooled everyone, but that somewhere underneath all of it, there was a girl who just wanted to be somebody, who fell into a trash chute and a reservoir and kept getting back up, and built an empire on the way. Is that a con? Or is that just survival that refused to stop? Let me know in the comments which version of Sarah you believe in, and subscribe for more recaps like this one.